invisible barrier. You're there's much more potential than you have, but you're finding either the environment isn't working for you or you're just avoiding applying for those next leadership positions, then today is for you. And if this is resonating for you, then I want you to let me know, either drop in the comments or slide into my DMs and DM me and let me know what's your biggest takeaway from today. So we're going to talk about breaking your inner glass ceiling. Now, you might be, let me know if this sounds like you. And this is what I call the overstretched leader. Now, the overstretched leader is a woman in leadership who is working at least 5 to 10, most likely even more than that, but usually a minimum of 5 to 10 extra hours each week. And you're doing this because you need to prove your capabilities. You need to show that you can be doing the work. You don't want to be seen as slacking off at your job. And you may just have that many responsibilities that I just cannot end the day without having completed all of the tasks on my list. You're also, or you may be, either or, you're leading a team that stares blankly at you. You're just kind of like, well, they're not really taking the initiative. They're not, acting out on their own. But you just, they're not. They're, how do I put this in a very nice way? You're just struggling to get the engagement that you need out of your team. You're struggling to get the performance that you want out of your team and the results that you need. And especially in these um, macro economic times where we're on more of a downward trend than an upward trend, the pressure to perform is even more intense. And as a leader, you're going to be needing to push your teams to create the results and the achievements that you're looking for. However, when your team stares back at you blankly, doesn't offer up any of their own ideas or takes initiative, that makes your leadership even more of a struggle. And you may be feeling like an imposter. So that regardless of all the things you've achieved, all the results you've had, even the position that you're holding today, you are still finding yourself second guessing decisions, wondering is someone going to discover that I am actually a fraud, that I don't belong here, or that I can't do the job? And lastly, but not least, and you might have experienced all four of these, or you might only have one of the four or a combination thereof, is you're lacking recognition from your bosses. Now, this could either be by simply they're not interested, they're not showing you any recognition, or more into the toxic type of work environment where you're finding yourself actually being pushed down, kept little by your bosses, because they might see you either, well, we're not going to get into that. They might see you as a threat. That's a possibility, but we need more information to diagnose that in a sense or detect that. However, you've just run up against sort of like an old boys club attitude in terms of work environment. Now, that's not for everyone. I'm just saying here, you're not having the recognition that you desire from your managers, your bosses, and your leaders. So if any one of those resonate with you, then you're what I call an overstretched leader. All of these symptoms are coming back into this, how do we break your glass ceiling? Because we talk about a glass ceiling in terms of a career. We talk about it in terms of women breaking through to the next leadership level and have busting like that glass ceiling, and more in terms of an organizational structure. What's more important is also the glass ceiling that you have in your mind. And the reason I kind of hesitate here and how I say it is more because we don't really we think that what we're thinking is rational, is logical, and that everything we think is true. However, your mind places a lot of fake limits in terms of what you're capable of, what you could do, what results are possible. And with those fake limits, that's where this invisible glass ceiling, this inner glass ceiling within your mind, comes into existence. So when you're experiencing this inner glass ceiling, you're likely going to be saying to yourself, well, for example, if you're going to apply for a next job, or you've been even asked to step into a more senior leadership role, you know what, it's just not for me. I'm not ready yet. I don't have the right experiences. It's in a different industry than I'm currently used to. I'm not completely comfortable in all of the responsibilities of that role. It's the team might be just, I've never led that many individuals in a team. All kinds of reasons that you're indicating, and what you're saying is actually the limits of that your mind is showing you, or in other words, your inner glass ceiling. Now, before you think you're the only one, there is a really interesting example that I heard of a couple weeks ago, and this was from Corey Bush, who is now the CEO of Best Buy. However, when she was asked to be the CEO for Best Buy and asked to lead that company, she actually wrote a 10-page report on why she wasn't qualified and wasn't the right candidate for the position. So let's talk about that inner glass ceiling. It's a real thing. And it doesn't just happen at the beginning of your career, it happens throughout your career. And every time we go into a new level of success or a new level of responsibility or into a new leadership level, there is always going to be this uncomfortable feeling of like, ooh, can I do this? And where most women actually wait until they're comfortable with all aspects of a position before they want to apply for it, you're actually never going to get there. Simply because if you've never experienced it, how do you get comfortable with it? And now this is a really basic example, but for example, if you're watching children, if children had never experienced walking and they only could decide to walk if they know and they're comfortable with walking, how many children would walk today? Most likely none of them, because they had to try it, they had to get up, they had to fall down, they had to keep going in order for them to learn the experience, gain the experience and the knowledge in order to be able to walk. Now, this is a very basic example. However, the same principle applies. When you're looking for a next leadership position, or you've been asked to step into another position, or you're wanting to make a career change because you may have decided, well, I want to step from this industry or this position, or I'm not able to grow further in my organization. I've been limited in my growth. Then there's always these limits that come up as to the jobs that you could be doing, because they'll be likely be saying to yourself, well, especially if you're switching from companies, well, I need to do a horizontal move. So I need to move into position that is the same or similar, or possibly even a step down for me, in order for me to be able to move comfortably over into that role. Rather than asking yourself, what are the limits that you've placed on yourself? What's that inner glass ceiling for you? And how do I break through that to step into the role that will absolutely fulfill me, that will challenge me and will excite me to get up in the morning and go and do? Because when you don't, it's like changing the environment, except you've taken all your trash with you. You've left your house, this old house that you didn't enjoy, the job that you didn't like, or you might have outgrown, and yet you took all the crap out of that house and you brought it into your new house, and now you're sitting in a new role in a new company thinking, well, shit, that didn't work out the way I thought it would, because I still have all this crap that's coming up. Well, that's the inner glass ceiling you're taking with you. And that's a part that no matter what your organization does in terms of breaking the organizational glass ceiling and promoting women into more senior roles, into director roles, into the board of directors, supervisory board, etc., they can do all, though your organization can do all of that, and yet you're still going to face an invisible barrier because your own inner glass ceiling won't allow you to actually believe that that is possible. So how do we go about fixing it? Or how do we change that, right? What we have to really do is look at what are the limits that you've placed on yourself. Now, we've gone through that quite intensely here. We've named a couple of those. But the next part is where we have to look at what is your belief structure, what's your identity. And this is all part of my power alignment pillar of the Leadership Edge program. Now, in this program, this is one of the big pieces of that power alignment pillar, is building your own personal leadership compass. And actually two components of it are: one, your belief systems, and is learning how to rewire your mind so that you're rewiring all the belief systems and belief structures that are in place. And the second component is looking at, well, who are you as a leader? Because as you're growing, you also need to adjust your identity. And the reason that I say this is because if you didn't, then you might still be identifying as a 6-month-old toddler or a 15-year-old teenager or a freshman college student, or you might be just identifying as a junior, your first junior leadership position. You've grown all of this time. I know it might sound silly to you, kind of like, well, I don't identify as that. No, of course not. However, there are pieces of your identity that aren't aligned with the success and the potential and the ambition that you have that you want to achieve. So through the Leadership Edge program and through this power alignment pillar, we work together to align your belief structure, to dig into not just what are the behaviors that you're wanting to show, what is the knowledge and the capabilities that you need to have to be successful in that next role, or even in your current role. If you're just wanting to shatter through this inner glass ceiling for yourself in your current role, which is completely possible and also completely normal, because many of the clients I work with, they love the roles they're in, but they're exhausted because of the mental strain that they're facing of just trying to continuously prove that they're good enough, that they deserve to be at that spot, and really to have the authority that they want in order to create high performing teams, in order to be the leader that everybody wants to work for. So what do we do in this? We strip back and go through the layers, and work on what is it that you value, what is it that you believe, and how do you identify as yourself. And you rewire your mind over the course of a few months, or even, at times we can rewire your mind even within a simple coaching session. And then you start taking different actions, because what's happening right now is you're wanting to take different actions. So maybe it's, for example, I've decided that I'm going to pitch this proposal that I think we could do as a new strategy, or I want to take a risk on a specific business idea, but you hesitate to pitch it because you're not quite sure of yourself. You don't identify as being that leader that you could do this, that you don't have the confidence for it. You're doubting yourself or the decision that is this really the right decision? What happens is, if you don't change your beliefs and identities, you're actually going to try that action, but you're going to find yourself, oh, today's not the right day. Oh, they're in the wrong mood. Oh, you know what? I need to do another pro and cons list just to make sure that I've got this right. And I'm going to double check possibly with Joe, Fred, and Harry to see whether or not my thinking here, my strategy here is clear. Can you see what happened? You actually avoided the action that you wanted to do. What you could alternatively do is actually dig deep in those and rewire those beliefs and rewire that identity. And that is going to actually change the actions that you're taking. So going back to that example of, a child walking, a child gets up and learns to walk because they believe that they can walk, not because someone told them that they can walk, or someone just said, well, just walk, but they have this inner belief that they are capable of walking. And therefore, they continue to take the actions towards towards walking, being capable of walking. However, if you have a child and they believe that they can't do something, the likelihood that they'll actually do it is close to zero. The same holds true for you. As long as you're having this inner dialogue and this invisible inner glass ceiling for yourself, where it's all about what you might have for yourself reached your potential, you're not capable of anymore. Wait till somebody figures out that this is all, that it's all a mirage, and that I'm actually not able to do the position that I'm at. Or that you don't believe that you could step into your leadership role and be capable of leading a high performing, highly engaged team, it's not going to be possible. It's really as simple as that. So this is why breaking through your inner glass ceiling is an absolute must in terms of your leadership journey and really stepping into the leadership potential that you hold in order to create both the career and the leadership roles that you absolutely love, while also still leading a life that you love and that is fulfilling. Because let's not forget the other side of it, right? Let's not try and outwork your limitations, because I can guarantee you, you will never outwork the limitations of your inner glass ceiling. You will drive yourself to exhaustion, to a massive stress load. You will likely burn yourself out completely, because as you're trying to outwork your inner glass ceiling, it's not going to happen, because the actions that you're taking aren't aligned with the beliefs that you want to receive. And the results are going to be missing as well. So if this sounds like you, so we'll go back just all the way back to the beginning, an overstretched leader, right? This is the person, if this describes you, then you're an overstretched leader. If you are that person that is trying to outwork your limitations. So you're working 5 to 10 and even more hours every week, taking on extra projects just to prove that you're good enough, that you can do it, that you can handle the responsibility of your position. You're leading a team that looks at you blankly, that you're struggling to hold accountable and get them to deliver the performance, but from their own initiative, not because you're dragging them by the heels over to the results that you need to get. You feel like you're an imposter, so you're second guessing decisions. Like I said, you might be making pros and cons lists, checking with your colleagues 2 or 3 times just to make sure, did I get that right? Do I see that right? Is that the right decision? And you're lacking recognition from your boss. Now, all 4 do not have to be in place for this to be true. If one of those or any more of them were describe your experience right now, then you're an overstretched leader. And what you can do is to move into being a more vibrant leader. So what I call a vibrant leader is the one that has a highly engaged team, that is a high performing team, that is living the life that they love while having the career and being the leader that everybody wants to work with. And really having those courageous conversations with the people around them that they need to, as well as speaking up for themselves, but sharing their amazing brilliance and the ideas and innovation that they have with the world around them. That's what I call a vibrant leader. Now, if you're interested in that, then I want you to DM me, because you can DM me REWIRE. I was trying to think of the word that I used in the description. So DM me REWIRE and let's have a conversation on what is possible for you and how. Because if the description of an overstretched leader fits you, and if you are finding yourself after, you probably tried all kinds of things. You've been reading books, you might have taken your MBA already, and still something's in the way, then let's have a conversation, because let's find a way to rewire your mind and to create the results that you're looking to achieve for yourself. So DM me REWIRE, and because I've got a couple more spots open this month for one-to-one coaching. And this is really perfect for you if you are ready to stop working all those hours. You're just tired of working all those hours. And you want to work in a much more sustainable and live in a much more sustainable way. You're ready to be the leader that everybody wants to work for, and having that highly engaged team, high performing team as well in place. If that is you, again, DM me REWIRE and let's talk about whether the Leadership Edge program is something for you. Now, before I shut this off, the last little thing I want you to, if nothing else, I want you to remember that you cannot outwork your inner glass ceiling. You cannot outwork the limitations that you have within your mind. So the way out is to start rewiring your mind and start today. So DM me REWIRE if you want the details on how I can help you. And I've helped over 50 plus women leaders in the past year. So I know that you're not alone, and that I could definitely give you a hand and can support you through your process. So look forward to seeing you in my DMs, and we'll talk again soon.